Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a throwback and revisiting our Hardpoint Game 4 against Atlanta from the LA event, which was a crazy map. I think most people remember it. Celian was making that crazy play at the end of the game, and we ended up winning by 3 seconds to force the Game 5, where we went on to win and get to the Grand Finals against Dallas. So let's dive into it. I think it's interesting to look back at older maps just to see how much we've changed our playstyle and how much more refined teams play the maps, because this was, what, like 4 or 5 months ago at this point. So it's really cool to look back and see how we play things differently now opposed to back then. It's gonna be a pretty standard break off out of us here. We're gonna run 3 ARs and try and just maintain top construction control. However, things don't go too well for us. They hit some good stuns and end up getting a lot of initial kills due to Priesta sneaking through mid-map. That's something we didn't account for, and that's kind of what breaks our entire setup here and allows them to get most of the P1 time. With kind of how we break off on the map now, something like that probably wouldn't happen. And that's big for FaZe too, because when they're starting bad side in this map, they really want to, try and get as much of the P1 time as possible and push through it, get construction control, and try and flip us out and get P2 as well in kind of one fell swoop. And P2 was a big power hill for us this game, and is for us just in general on this map. We like playing a really tight setup, kind of stacked around the hill, and having some people, like a player or two, floating around the BS&D ammo side of the map. And if we play really tight in the hill, it's extremely hard for them to break in no matter where they're spawning. So our goal is to keep them spawning bottom secret where they are right now while playing really tight in hill. See, what happened right here is not how we'd play the map anymore. ASIM kind of went through bottom mid, and you see it allows Priesta to kind of get past and get a pinch on us here. I think we do still end up holding most of the time, but something like that could have definitely messed up our setup really bad. However, it does allow them to get the BS&D spawn, which is the spawn we're trying to maintain here, so we can get earlier rotations to P3. P3 is a pretty typical hill. Your goal here, breaking it, is basically just to trap them in the bag as long as you can, and while keeping them off the time. So with us here, we want to go get top plat control, top mid control, and kind of just box them in while pressuring the hill. So going into P4 rotation, we're down around 50 seconds at this point, but it's not the biggest of deals. We just want to make sure we can get a good hold on construction here. And then this map, a lot of time, kind of the big swing moments are the P5 into the P1. That's kind of when things can get a little scrappy. A lot of other hills on this map are fairly easy ones to hold. However, our setup isn't the greatest here, and we allow FaZe to get through the back, but it kind of ends up working out in our favor as we re-break from the front, which helps us rotate P5 as well. Good play out of Priest yet again. He's been taking a lot of routes for FaZe this game. Something we've been focusing on a lot recently is tracking names and making sure we know where players are at all time. That's by far been our paramount focus in scrims this past week. And when we put a big emphasis on communication and just calling out things that seem really basic, it eliminates every single percentage of error. So just calling out things like where you spawn, where they're going to spawn in relation to that, just being able to control the flow of the comms when you're a bit out of the play, and it makes things so much easier for your teammates. And when you're in a situation where you're getting kills and you're only seeing 4 people on the feed, you kind of want to track who's alive, because if you see someone stay alive for quite a bit after getting a few kills, you can kind of presume that person's sneaking unless you just killed them. So keeping track of names is really important, because you see so many important plays in Call of Duty where one guy kind of gets past, plays his life, gets his team spawns, and a lot of those times that can be completely countered if you were just keeping track of the kill feed and seeing who is alive and who is not. And if we were doing that to the extent that we do now, we would have known Priest was in the back, and I don't think FaZe would have spawned behind us here, because we would have known to been looking for him. And it allows FaZe to get early spawns here for the P5. However, the back spawns can end up biting you in the butt a little bit on this hill. If the other team gets good control of BS&D and breaks through and kind of pins you in the back, it's pretty hard to get sufficient time off this hill. It's going to be really scrappy. There's going to be a lot of smokes, and it generally sets up the team spawning BS&D side to go get spawns for P1. However, we only have one guy playing plat side. Everyone else starts flooding hill instead of going top mid. And when that plat guy dies, it gives, I think it's Major Maniac, the timing to get rugs and give FaZe the spawns going into the next hill. How we would have played that now is we would have had a couple people floating hill, probably sent 2 people, 1 or 2 people top mid to kind of cut, and just always have a guy filling rugs. Only having that one guy there by himself allowed them to get out pretty easily. Going into the end of P1, they're going to have the initial spawns here for P2. So let's see what we can do to kind of break this. How we want to go about it is pretty much just sending everyone through back construction sandbags area and just getting a good pinch on the front of the hill while winning our fights. It's a lot easier said than done though. However, FaZe end up pressuring this P1 really hard for the last 10-15 seconds, which wasn't too great of a play because we spawn BS&D here, and I believe it's going to give us a 2v1 fight on the guy holding hill. Yeah, so easy trade there to go get Cell, and now we're the ones kind of in control here. FaZe were in a really good spot going into this hill, but they definitely messed it up a bit with how hard they pressured P1, and now we're just able to get that tight setup like we had before and kind of just get the majority of this time. Good play at Justin here to be proactive, pushing out the BS&D side, trying to get an early rotate P3 and just spawning them out secret. Going into this final P3, we know they're going to take the lead if they get a full hold here, but the big thing for us is to make sure we don't let anyone sneak out and to allow us to get construction as well. Right here, we're just trying to get them off the hill as much as we can at this point. We're not really trying to break it too heavily. As long as we maintain top plat control and top mid control, it should be really hard for them to get out behind us and flip spawns. However, as soon as I say that, we only had one player playing plat side here, and once he dies, someone on FaZe ends up getting the secret spawn and allows them to get early construction spawns. However, we do end up getting the spawn back fairly easily since they keep spawning in the back as they had hill control, and we kind of just go and trade out the one guy that was able to get the construction. FaZe only need one break here just to kind of force one more hill, and they go and do that. They just smoke out the front of the hill. I think luckily for us here, with how aggressively they push it, I mean, it is a good play because it keeps us from getting around to the high 240 range that they had to do that, but it does end up spawning us BS&D, which allows us to get the early spawns here for the P5. Back on the name tracking thing I said before, if we were doing a better job of tracking names here, we would have known we were looking for Celium, and we just seem kind of lost here. We killed 3 people, we know one person's in the hill, and Cell's been alive for quite some time at this point. And you'll revisit that moment here where he sits back, he makes the play, and he ends up getting a 4-piece or something like that. If it wasn't for that, we would have been able to close the map here on this hill. See, we really just had no idea he was kind of hiding their elbow, and with how we were on the map, and how long he was alive, we should have been able to, gauge that he was somewhere in that area and been able to flush him out. But he just makes a outstanding individual play here after that. Gets a 4-piece and allows his team time to push up and get a hill and kind of just make it really scrappy. And our goal at this point is not even so much to win the game, but to just keep throwing smokes in the hill and to keep getting in there and contesting as long as possible to make sure they can't win as well. You're going to see Alex here spawn up, instantly realize that he has to trust his teammates to get in the hill and contest a little bit, and he's going to go and get us the spawns here for P1. And that's going to be the play that ends up winning us the game, because we got in just long enough where they would have got the 249. And Alex going there and getting us the spawns just gets us a good setup here. Relatively easy stuff. FaZe have to sprint straight into us. We get the kills. We win the game. We force the game 5. And we go on to win the series. All right, thank you guys for watching this latest episode of the Coach's Corner. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of a throwback match from us versus Atlanta FaZe during the last LAN event of the season, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get back on that stage again soon. Thanks again for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think.